I want to share with you a particular way of being which informs most of what I do. And it's based on harmonizing with or accepting the state of being or season of life that we find ourselves in. So if we think of life and the body as an extension of nature, nature has the seasons, which we often divide into summer, autumn, winter, and spring. And each of these seasons has a certain quality, energetic, and role. Certain seasons are better for certain things. And if we didn't have a summer or a winter, then we would be missing out on the whole flow of life. There would be something essential that is missing. It just wouldn't work. Things wouldn't bloom, they wouldn't decay, they wouldn't compost themselves into new growth. This is the cycle of life. It's the cycle of blooming and decaying. It's the cycle of birth and death that occurs in everything biological. So the yin-yang signifies this, where we have the height of summer, meaning the most outward phase. We have the depths of winter, meaning the most inward phase. And if you think of this as the breath cycle, summer is like being full of oneself, being full of essence and ready to express and to go out and to strive. And then once that's done, there's an exhale. There's a certain ramping down, a settling to prepare for the empty phase, where the lungs are empty, where what's expressed is expressed, and where rest and recuperation occurs. It's like a hibernation. It's like this natural coming inward of the energy towards the heart, towards the vital organs. It's like resting and digesting. So winter, and then we have spring, where that recuperation is taking place, and there's almost like a critical mass of inwardness which then needs to start expanding and expressing in order to remain in seasonal balance. So even at the height of summer, there is an element of winter. Like when we are most outward and yang, in order to actually really embody the yang, we have to have that little bit of yin, that little bit of temperance. It's what gives us the balance and the safety and the stability. And even in the depths of winter, when we're really inward, perhaps it's introspective, perhaps it's empty of creative work, we're just receiving, there does need to be an element of keeping that little pilot light alive, having something that brings a bit of light and energy just to keep things turning and not become stagnant. So this is a dynamic. This is an interplay of energies which circulates through the year and through the greater seasons of our life. The point is not stagnation in any one of these areas. It's not to become the perfect balance of everything and then you're done. The point is not to be attached to any idea of what's right or wrong or who you are, nor is it to be fixated on anything. The idea is circulation, connection, and renewal. So the fundamental quality we're looking at here is movement and continuation and flow. And with that movement and flow, new paths can be found and there is some momentum to carry forth. So this is a very interesting thing, because in modern Western culture, there is a lot of summer chasing. There is a lot of fear of the release, a fear of the sacred descent. There's a sense that we don't want to stop, we don't want to rest, we don't want to feel the bad feelings. The dark is avoided, all of the city lights stay on all the time, the shop lights don't turn off at night. The bitter is not good, and everything you go to in a cafe is sweet. It's all sweet and sugary and lovely. Of course, I love pastries and all that, but there is a goodness to bitterness which stimulates digestion. It's important for the organs, just like it's important for there to be periods of darkness in order for us to rest and sleep. Death is perceived as bad rather than just a natural thing. Death is not something that's spoken about a lot. Death is something that is tiptoed around, despite the fact that it is the one thing that all biological entities have in common. And even the symbolic death, the symbolic letting go, is something which is not spoken about as much in mainstream culture. Feeling bad is seen as bad, despite the fact that feeling bad is a natural effect of certain decisions. It's a natural effect of certain actions. If we push too much, we should feel bad. If we ignore our body, there should be pain. These things are necessary and helpful. They are informative. So when we avoid the winter and the emptying and the autumn and the decline, what we also do is we delay the entire life cycle, and we kind of rob ourselves of this essence. As life turns over, as the blood circulates, as the breath circulates, we build essence, we build vital life energy, we build prana, chi, we build this sense of vitality. It requires the turning over to happen at the right rate with the broader systems, the broader seasons. So this cultural fear of the descent you might find in yourself. I definitely know that I've experienced it, and I get caught up in it sometimes still. And that fear of the descent causes us to act in ways which are more harmful than the descent itself, because the descent, that coming into winter, is helpful and necessary and timely. Your body has these seasons, and I invite you to ask, what seasons have I spent most of my life in? What seasons have I been avoiding? Because it's just as essential as the in-breath and the out-breath. When you are avoiding, what are you creating? So if we avoid winter, what is the implication of that? What's the expectation that we are fulfilling? Well, we're obviously fulfilling the implication that rest is not safe, that release and letting go is not okay, that healing, therefore, which is a necessary part of rest and release, and it's a byproduct, healing itself is not safe. Therefore, exhaustion must be safe. Clinging must be safe. Self-destruction must be safe. And of course, it's all relative. So we might just think that exhaustion, clinging, and self-destruction are safer than resting, releasing, and healing, simply because it's familiar to be exhausted, to fixate, to cling, to strive, and to chase summer more than what feels biologically natural. So in all of these things, we are reaffirming the perceived need for the old patterns of striving. Because by avoiding the rest, the release, the winter, we tire ourselves out. And in tiring and exhausting ourselves out, we then double down on the old patterns that are familiar. Because it's only in a vital, energized, essential state, having recuperated, having regulated, that we are able to entertain new patterns. New patterns of behavior, though on paper you may think, oh, this is a great idea, I'm going to change my behavior and do this new thing. They need to be perceived at a visceral, embodied, subconscious level as safe, as good options. Often there will be an idea, something we want to change for the better, and though we consciously, analytically think, yeah, this is the right thing, there is a perceived threat in there. Our body, our unconscious is perceiving something unfamiliar, something destabilizing and different, and therefore a bit threatening. In order to shift that perceived threat of the new into a perceived opportunity where we can truly, with all of ourselves at every layer, physically, emotionally, psychologically, see the new as good, we need to build that vitality and energy. we need to feel ready, to truly feel ready, not just convince ourselves that we are ready. Therefore, once again, we need to cycle through the seasons and be ready, prepare ourselves, enable ourselves to rest, train and stretch the capacity to see novelty as something interesting, as an opportunity. So working with embodied perception, shifting these perceptions at an embodied visceral level requires harmonization with the seasons. Without that, we will only ever be able to shift our sense of what should be, but the soil will not change. The body and our perceived embodied expectation will not change. So, embodied leadership means becoming safe in your sense of joy, which means allowing yourself to feel like shit, allowing yourself to crash, and allowing yourself ideally to rest before the crash. To feel safe having that energy and not needing to push to exhaustion or depletion. And then making decisions that challenge the old assumptions, knowing that it will only feel like a good opportunity to make those assumption challenging decisions if your tank is full enough. So a couple of dynamics that I often see and have experienced that you may find interesting. To act with a sense of volatile impulsivity is obviously not so good most of the time. It tends to be a compensation for a lack of safety. It tends to be an avoidance mechanism, a way to get away from what is being felt. To act or fail to act because there's a stagnancy and a hypervigilance, overly cautious. I don't want to try something new. I don't want to deviate from my structure. My routine must be here every day, 7 a.m. This. That can also be a compensation. It's a sign that everything seems dangerous. So clinging to a structure, or even insisting on breaking structures and on expressing and doing things new because they feel good, and following the impulse as soon as it hits, both of these things can be reactive. And the zone that you want to be feeling for, and only you know whether you are in this, and it's relative to you. No one else can really know for sure. Someone else could give you an assessment of your behavior. It might be helpful, but you really need to feel into this. So what we're looking for is spontaneous and creative. So if I can be spontaneous, but I'm also able to create and not just consume with that spontaneity, if I can actually give something, think on a higher level, be spontaneous in that way, if I can be spontaneous in the way I move my body and creative and sustain that, that's a great sign of stability. When we're feeling truly safe, truly joyful, we tend to act spontaneously and creatively, and we tend to bring more of ourselves and be more expressive. We take risks, but it's more of a slow burn, taking little new risks every day and building momentum, building, circulating, rather than just, train surfing, doing things that are almost reckless. So the reason that spontaneity and creativity is different from volatility and this impulsive behavior is this volatile impulsive stuff. When we're in that, we're not okay unless we express it. But when we're in this zone, whether we express it or not, we're okay. We can be spontaneous or not, and either way is fine, but there's that invitation. Where we're here, stagnant and hypervigilant, it's not okay unless we're really hypervigilant. So being okay either way, this is the aim. This is how you know when you're being spontaneous but not impulsive. So in all of this way of being is really a response to life. It's to work with and collaborate with life. Life calls us to engage artfully with the change process. And suffering is the resistance to the natural and inevitable challenge that this brings. Change is a constant. Challenge is a constant. Will you meet it where it is, as you are, in the season that you're in, and harmonize with that rather than try to fight it? Try to force things to be different than they are right now, in here and out there. Harmonizing with the essence of the now as it is. Opening and meeting it in truth. Breathing with the essence of this as it is. As it is, not as you think it should be. Home is where all the efforts to escape cease. Anytime that resistance to the natural and inevitable challenge of change is released, and we just accept feeling bad for a moment, that in itself is home, because that is harmony. From that place, things will shift because change is the way. Hope you find this helpful. Remember this: all seasons are absolutely necessary. All feelings are absolutely necessary. All of it is information.